Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the five of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Welcome to the 1905 podcast, home of the world champions, Chelsea. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes.
Wow, what an unbelievable performance from Chelsea Football Club. They have completely and utterly dismantled Spain's finest team currently, and not just any team. The absolute giants of European football have been completely destroyed. Do you know, at the weekend, my boys played and I had to give a joint man of the match to all the players that were available to me. And I felt like that game tonight just smacked of that. I was just going through the team and going, who deserves the man of the match tonight? And you're going, he's got a case and he's got a case. You know, it was just unreal. I believe Cucurella has been given the man of the match, and I can completely understand because he's locked down Lamal to the point where he didn't know what he was doing in the end. I'd say Lamal in the first half, there was a couple of half chances in the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes. After that, he didn't get a kick of the ball. Cucurella was absolutely unreal tonight. And you can go through the whole team and pick player by player. Caicedo, immense. Estevão, just unbelievable. Pedro Neto led the line, chased everything, kicked everybody, got himself about, pushed people over. Andre Santos when he came on, Liam Delap, Enzo Fernandez. Scored a couple of goals disallowed, but he was in everybody's face, but did it in a really good, mature way. The petulance didn't seem to be there tonight from Chelsea, which was wonderful. Reece James in the middle of the park alongside Caicedo was unreal. One small mistake in the first half. Yes, it should have led to a goal for Barcelona. We probably should have been 1-0 down if we're being truthful, but that was the only chance they mustered in the entire 90 minutes. And that was from our own doing. And look, when you play out from the back every so often, you aren't going to give one away. Barcelona pressed us really, really high. Reece gave the ball away. Ferran Torres got in and he puts it wide. We rode a luck on that one chance. But I'm not even going to include that in my mind for the game. It doesn't deserve to be there. Chelsea have completely whitewashed one of the best teams in European football. And I think for all the people out there that were very critical last year of our Conference League win and the group games, this phase of play when we were winning sort of quite easily. There was the FC Noah game 8-0 and a few 6s and 4s and 5s, and we could have got more in those games as well, more goals in those games. I was getting frustrated because people kept saying, "No, you're only playing these wanky teams or whatever." And I'm going, well, yeah, but that's the competition we're in. And would we have been able to compete with Barcelona and these other sides last year? No, probably not. That's probably true. But, do you know, it was a process. It was going to get better. Chris and I are never going to come on the podcast and say, as of tonight, you know, we're going to go and win the Champions League or whatever. But you have to savour performances like that. And that won't be the last time we play that well. And I really hope we can go into Sunday's match against Arsenal and ride that wave of confidence, because they look like a real team, don't they? They look really hungry. And I knew after the Burnley game, I was a little bit critical after Burnley, not of the team as such, but just the slow nature of the game. We made a few changes, etc., etc. But I just had a feeling tonight of all nights, and hopefully again on Sunday, that we were going to come out and put in that kind of performance. And in the end, I don't know what you all thought, but it was almost very easy. The way we passed Barcelona to death. And not only that, if you go back to the Tottenham game under Ange Postecoglou a couple of seasons ago when we ended up winning 4-1 away from home and they played that really ridiculous high line, Tottenham, we kept getting in over and over and over again, and then we kept falling over the ball and tripping up and getting offside and all the rest of it. Tonight, there was none of that. There was plenty of offsides, but Barcelona's high line was very good and they got us offside a lot. But like you've seen like that growth where you felt as though one more pass, and if they keep playing this high line, we're going to get in. And we did. And it was remarkable to watch the growth and the elevation of these players, because there were times in that match against Tottenham those couple of years ago where Pochettino couldn't quite get his tactics right and the players were very raw. And yes, there's one or two different players now. Nicholas Jackson's not with the club. But do you know what I mean? There was this feeling of real youth and inexperience. And Chelsea have just taken apart an absolutely world-class team, and they've done it at a canter. You could argue that the Arejo getting himself sent off in the first half was, it certainly helped us. Of course it did. You play against 10 men against anybody this level, it's going to cost you. But the way we have taken them to the cleaners and played them at their own game, because if we'd have had somebody sent off tonight, or if this game had played in the new camp, or the Camp Nou rather, and we'd done something like that, they would have passed us to death. And we just did exactly what they've done to so many teams down the years, kept the ball, kept moving around. And what I loved was we played with that little bit of purpose. Once we had 5, 6, 7, 8 passes, we looked to play him behind. Neto got him behind so many times, and he was such a threat. Garnacho, to be fair to him in the first half, and for the sort of 10 or 15 minutes he was on in the second half, did equally as well. Estevão was quite quiet in the first half, one or two little shifty moments, but we didn't really get into the game too much. And then, wow, the second half come along, he came alive. Just the goal is smacked of the goal we scored against us when he was playing for Palmeiras. Was it he come from? When he just ducks inside and he hit it in the top corner in the Club World Cup. And I thought that is exactly the type of goal that we've just scored now. It was sensational. It was almost like there was no backlift. He just goes shift, step over, and he just whacked it with his right foot, top bins, and you're going, come from. He's just magic. I've never been so excited, probably since someone like Eden Hazard, to see this guy in our team. And I love the way that everybody is getting around him and we're giving him opportunities. The players that I've realised very, very quickly, I noticed Enzo and Caicedo, when they got on the edge of the box tonight, they were looking to find him wherever they could. And just mind blown. I just don't know what else to say. I'm really struggling to say this voice note because we were so brilliant. And I could be here for 4 hours and it wouldn't have enough time. To a man, that team has played just a wonderful game of football. And you have to savour these moments as a fan, because there's plenty of dark days. There's always those moments where, the Sunderland game, for example, a few weeks ago, you're winning 1-0 and you lose 2-1 at the last minute. It kills you as a fan. And you think, why on earth are we getting beaten by these at home? And then they go and put performance in like that. And you just kind of go, for all the defending Chris and I have done of Enzo Marseca and the way the club have tried to change the way we have done our business in the past. We've gone for experienced players who have won things, for the most part, not the whole time, but for the most part, paid a lot of money for people that were the end product, getting them in their later years. But we've kind of now gone, we're going to go the complete reverse of that, get them in as young as possible. There's going to be some real dodgy performances now and again, some really dodgy team performances now again as well. And you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like the club's going nowhere. I would love a penny for that guy Rory from TalkSport, goes from Sky Sports and talks about Chelsea in a really negative way. I'd love to know what he thinks about the club today. I know he'll probably say this is a one-off performance and Chelsea are going to go nowhere because, in my opinion, he doesn't really want the club to do well because it suits his agenda. But there are so many people And Chris and I are never these guys that will be like, you're wrong and we're right. We're not like that. But what we've been trying to say is you have to give it a go. You're not going to see results in 3 months. Enzo Marseca, we didn't know if he was going to be any good or not. And we still don't know that. One result doesn't make, an entire season. But what you're seeing is another clean sheet, another really high-class performance. And with every week that goes by, you get the sense at Stamford Bridge now that the fans are feeling it. There's definitely a change in the air. And look, the game against Arsenal at the weekend is another massive game. But I feel like as a club and a fan base, if we don't quite get that result, there's not going to be this knee-jerk reaction to, oh, that was no good. He doesn't know what he's doing, get him out. And that's a real testament to Marseca. He's had to win a lot of people over, and he probably still has to win a few people over because that's just the nature of football and the nature of supporting a football team. But I just think that he deserves all the credit in the world because he has had so much shit thrown at him over the last 2 seasons that it's just really a little bit embarrassing and very, very impatient. And yeah, he's had some funny old performances. He sometimes picks a funny old team. But you know what? He does get results. And yeah, there are moments where I've been frustrated with him at times, but you have to kind of just go, they've picked this huge squad for a reason. And the best example of that is Andre Santos playing a full 90 against Burnley on Saturday afternoon, which allowed the absolutely unbelievable Moises Caicedo to put in that kind of monster performance tonight, because wherever there was a Barcelona shirt in the vicinity of our goal, Moises Caicedo was there to smash them and win the ball back and then give it simple. Oh, he was a joy, an absolute joy to watch. I didn't really give Cucurella enough respect at the beginning. That guy has just played one of the all-time unbelievable games. He's so fit. He's up and back. He's across in the midfield. He's making tackles. As I said against Burnley, he's making the overlapping runs. He puts in balls for assists. He wins headers he shouldn't win. Oh, just phenomenal performance. Literally cannot tell you what sort of guy Lamal is to play against. And he's made him look completely bang average. And for those that don't know, before this game started tonight, Lamine Yamal said at the weekend that the big game that Barcelona played was the 4-0 win against Bilbao, and Chelsea was just another game. I think sometimes you reap what you sow, and when you say things like that, you deserve what you get. And quite frankly, he deserved what he got tonight, which was absolutely naffle out of Chelsea. A big, huge congratulations and applause from me goes to the referee. I thought he was outstandingly good. He didn't fall for any of the tricks and the nonsense that Barcelona obviously always try to play. They're going down too easy. He was fantastic. A really strong ref in a game like that makes such a huge difference. And I thought he was a superstar tonight, the referee. He was really, really good compared to the last couple that we've had in the European games. He was just a breath of fresh air, and I couldn't thank him enough for the sort of job that he did. He'd say he didn't fall for any of the garbage. Little did I say that we had 3 goals. Was it mostly even 4? I can't remember. Goals disallowed, and I don't know exactly, but they looked really close to being either offside or handball. And Chelsea could have had 5 or 6 tonight, and if we had done, it wouldn't have been unfair on them. It would have been a really fair result. That performance tonight, like I've said, has been wonderful. And I'm aware I want to leave Chris a lot of good things to say, so I will wrap my note up tonight and say some more tomorrow. But I just can't tell you the smile on my face watching that performance and seeing that young team come together on a night like that will give them the most confidence you can possibly imagine. And just lastly, I don't know when it's going to happen for me when I say something like, I think we could challenge, or I think we're good enough to do this or that. I'm not going to say it after tonight, because I think the knee-jerk reaction after a win like that is to say you can win the Champions League and the FA Cup at a canter. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm really enjoying the ride and the evolution of this team. There are a couple of dodgy performances at the start of the season. The Man United game where we get Sanchez sent off, etc., and really annoys you, frustrates you. But you sort of have to go, that was then, this is now. And a few weeks down the line, a few months down the line, you've just seen a complete change. And Maresca's learned from a few of his mistakes. There was a few little errors he made at the start of the season with team selection and whatnot. And we weren't sure how fit this team would be after the Club World Cup, missing out on their pre-season. But they look like now the pennies dropped and they're slowly starting to get where they need to be and what this club is and what it means to be a Chelsea player. And I think that is the most important thing. We're here to win things. This club is not a team to finish second, third, fourth or fifth. We want to be competing for the top honours. And look, you're not always going to do it because there's so many good teams out there at the moment. But isn't it great to be back in the big time, beating a team like that on your home surface in front of your home crowd? There doesn't get any better feeling than that. And that tonight, Chelsea, was absolutely top draw. Well done, lads.
What a performance. It was just brilliant, wasn't it? It's the morning now, Wednesday morning, and to be honest, I'm still not quite over it, I don't think, in terms of how brilliant we were. There's so much you can talk about. I think, Joe, you've done a great summary there. Let's run through it. I thought a huge amount of credit needs to go to Marseca. He really is a big game player, a big game manager. I say big game player, but I think he was a big game player in his day, actually, but he's a big game manager. I think where we still have doubts with him, a lot of fans, and there's criticism, it tends to be, he forgets only his second season managing a Premier League team. He's made mistakes, most notably this year has been that disaster couple of games where we went down to 10 men at Man United and obviously at home to Brighton, and there's a little bit of frustration sometimes in those sort of games when you think we should go for it a bit more. But my God, when it comes to these big games, you just know he's going to come up with a plan to exploit the other team's weaknesses. And we almost take it for granted now, don't we, that he does this thing where Reece James or Gusto, one of them, will play in midfield and will play an extra body in there, will move around the wingers, all these sort of things that he does. The opposition managers are having to come up with, well, they're going to have to come up with new ideas because Chelsea have got a plan for these games. And the lineup came out. I think most of us probably had 8 or 9 of the lineup right of what we would have expected, but he certainly surprised most of us with Neto playing up front, really going like, let's go and exploit that space in behind. And it just worked. It was really one of, I would say, the most flawless performances from front to back that we've seen at Chelsea for some time. And it was electric, wasn't it? Right from the first minute, the way we played. Electric is the word that comes to mind so much. The atmosphere was like the performance. It was just brilliant. And I think it was just a great example at the Bridge of when Chelsea and Stamford Bridge and the fans and the players are all at their very, very best. That is the best of Chelsea. And it was almost that, I think the players drove the crowd and the crowd drove the players. The work rate from every single Chelsea player, the aggression, the way we went at Barcelona right from the first minute was fantastic. It was a joy and it made you really sort of proud, didn't it? As a Chelsea fan to go, yeah, that's my club. I was getting messages, and my brother's a big Liverpool fan, but he was messaging me saying, wow, like you guys are, I think it was a half time. It was like a fire emoji. You guys were absolutely on it. And we didn't let that drop. We were brilliant. I mean, I thought we were a bit unlucky. I mean, we can talk about the goals disallowed. 3 goals disallowed. It finished as 3-0. It could have been 5 or 6 quite easily. Not to mention, a couple of half chances, missed chances, things like that. We absolutely destroyed one of the best teams in the world last night. And yeah, the first one, I mean, it was a few minutes in, I thought it was maybe a bit harsh. The first disallowed goal was obviously the handball from Fofana. But you look at it back, and I was watching the highlights this morning. It was like the commentator was saying in the highlights, well, actually, he's not the guy who scored the goal, so this could be a goal. And then very quickly it was, oh no, it's not. And And obviously the big chance was Ferran Torres, where you'd have put your house on him, scoring that the way he's been playing this year. But once we got over that chance, we just didn't give them a kick, really. I mean, I might do a little bit of a player run through, I think, because I think you're bang on, Joe. Like, you could give man of the match to just about every one of those players. So let's do it. Let's go through them. Rob Sanchez in goal. Not his busiest night, of course, but do you know what? Big save at the end to preserve the clean sheet. That would have felt, I don't know, really sad, wouldn't it, not to have kept a clean sheet considering how well we played. Big save at the end. By the way, that's the first game in 2025 that Barcelona have failed to score in. That is just how good they are going forward. And of course, they got 10 men, but even with 11 men, with the way we were defending was superb. And what his job was good distribution. And again, I've said it on the pod before, it's so different now to what I was saying a year ago. But you're not too nervous, are you, with when the ball is at his feet? He's generally picking the right options. 9 times out of 10, he's going long when he needs to. His long distribution is very good. And he's, just quietly becoming fairly assured, I would say. Right back was Gusto for the first half. Again, I think he shows you what he gives you in these games. He's just constant running, using the ball well. He's just, again, he's a little bit like Sanchez, just become a safer pair of hands, just having a much better season already this year. Huge shout for the centre-backs. I mean, Joe messaged me after he sent me his voice note just now and said, I can't believe I didn't talk about the centre-backs. Please make sure you do. Trev Chalobah, we'll talk about Reece in a minute. And of course, Chelsea through and through. Again, what a lovely thing to see this Cobham boy play like he did last night in Chalobah. He's come back. He's been just... He's such a professional, isn't he? And his aggression on Lewandowski, one of the best number 9s that we've seen for the last 10 years plus, was brilliant. He was so aggressive, so strong throughout the game, brilliant on the ball. Those moments when he was getting big blocks in and tackles and jumping up, fist pumping, you just love to see it, don't you? Absolutely superb. His right-hand man, Fofana, a little reminder of just what a good player he is. He's get him to his best, and he could just be such an important player for Chelsea. It's been so long. You almost, a little bit like I was with Reece a year ago, you don't know whether to relax and enjoy his performances yet, just because he's had so many injuries. But we paid 70 million for this guy for a reason. I mean, ironically, when I look back, there was, for so long, I thought we were going to buy the guy who scored the first goal of the night, Koundé, back in 2022. That was. Eventually, we lost out. He went to Barcelona, and it was actually Wes Fofana we bought instead. And it was kind of the tale of the two differences last night, because I think Koundé struggled, scored a lovely opening goal for us, but Fofana was pretty much flawless. And then Cucurella. I mean, Joe, you've summed it up there. I think the only thing I can add really is, he's another one. What a big game player he is. It's almost like he goes up another level when he knows that he's up against, he's going to be the guy in the spotlight. So you knew that it was, you mean Lamal, it was going to be all about that confrontation, I guess you call it. And the messages going around last night was it was Ashley Cole versus Ronaldo type things. It just gave you those sort of vibes. And we've talked about just how important he is for the club now. I won't lie, after his first season at the club, I would have been probably quite happy to have cashed in on him. I just wasn't seeing it. How wrong I was. He's now, I mean, he's the best defensive left back in the world. There's no question of that. You can put him certainly in the conversation for just full stop the best left back in the world, but there is no one better. There's no one I would want more in my team up against the top right winger. And if you're any right winger coming up against him, you're just probably thinking, give it a rest. It's going to be tough. Caicedo's Caicedo, isn't he? That tackle he did in the first half, the roar from the crowd when he did it as well. The one with, I think it was either Lopez or Torres running towards our goal, 25 yards out. He does one of those crazy tackles that he does, wins the ball, and then gets up and plays it as he does. And he's just running out of superlatives, aren't we, for him? And then Reece James. Reece, what when he plays like that, you just have a smile on your face, don't you? As a Chelsea fan, he's your captain, he's your Chelsea boy. You can see what he means to it, what it means to him. We've talked a bit about seeing little signs of him growing as a captain. You see him doing the huddles before the game. You see him getting all the players together. I noticed that as they walked off at the end of the first half together as well. He's just got a bit of everything, isn't he, Reece? And as comfortable slotting in at right back, coming to centre midfield, you almost take for granted. You could put him anywhere on the pitch and he'd be brilliant. And when he went back into right back second half and Andre Santos came on, again, Santos, we talked about him a lot after the Ben game. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. A bit unlucky not to get a goal himself. Very early on, disallowed. He was instrumental in the second goal from Estevão, which we'll talk about in a second. It was him who so aggressive, as he always is, winning the ball, playing it forward quickly. Again, we are blessed in that area. And Enzo Fernandez, Joe, who you talked about, can't add a huge amount more, but another big game player, another one who seems to raise it. And what is really nice is that we are seeing these players grow around us. We are seeing a development, a character, personality within these young players. That winning mentality that we wanted to see for a while, and I felt might be missing. The game that I always kind of throw back to was the League Cup final against Liverpool a couple of years back under Pochettino, where perhaps we didn't have the big game player on that day to go and win us the game, which you do need to win big games. I always say it, like, there's a reason that when we had Drogba and Lampard and Terry, we'd pretty much always win those finals. It was because of those big game players that step up. I think you're starting to see it. I think you're starting to see with these guys that the personalities are growing, the willingness to take responsibility, and he's just the best example of that, I think. Garnacho on the left, I didn't actually think it was his best game in terms of on the ball. I thought he was a bit more safe than he sometimes is. But that said, he never gave the ball away, really. He was safe in that sometimes, like, go on, be a bit more aggressive. But even when he was doing it, he was retaining the ball. I'm growing to really quite like him. I think there's quite a few of us who are. It's kind of become that guy where you're like, oh, this is a bit of a steal, isn't it? And you know that when he does get the ball, he is trying, normally does try to do stuff. Gets down the left. He's, again, comfortable on both feet. I thought it wasn't his most electric game, but still, in a game like that, when there's spacing behind, you definitely want him playing. And I'll tell you now, he'll start against Arsenal. I'm almost certain of that. I just think he's become that player for us now that you want in these big games. That, again, not his best game, but still very important for us. I'll leave Estevão to the end, I think. Pedro Neto, what a winning runner. His work rate he sort of set the tempo, didn't he? Really pressing from the front. And there was that moment in the second half when he'd gone onto the left wing, of course, where he just showed us that pace, when he absolutely burned the Barca defender. It was unreal. It was a bit unlucky. He kind of got almost too close to the keeper by the time he'd shot, and it was a decent save. But when he does that, you just go, oh. He's become, there's so much talk, of course, for Estevão to start, and you know what? I think that having Neto there, people almost forget just how well Neto's playing, because he's not as silky as he is Estevão, the way he plays, but you can almost forget just how effective Neto is. And again, we talked a little while ago about having this really good group of wingers, and I think you saw it in a game last night where three of them started. And then Estevão. I mean, he's just magic, isn't he? He's just magic. He's another one. He's such a big game player. You look at the goal, very similar to the goal he scored against Chelsea, as you said, Joe, that was a huge game for him against Chelsea back in the summer. He turns up, he does it. He's playing for Brazil, he turns up, he does it. And if you look at the moments already this season, if you had have said at the start of the season he's going to score, he's going to come on against Liverpool at home, really help turn the game in our favour to turn it from a draw to a win, and then come up with a winner like he did. And then in the game last night, just dropping that shoulder, firing into the roof of the net, he is magic. It's like, I play a bit of FIFA computer games because I'm still a child, basically, but it's like a computer game character where you kind of oh, I've got this young player, I've got to see if he can play. And he's doing it. He's completely fearless. And just, we are blessed. We are absolutely blessed to watch this guy. It's going to be so fun watching him in a Chelsea shirt. And as we say many, many times, we haven't even seen him with Palmer yet. Can you even imagine how fun that is going to be? Guys on the bench all did well. Great to see. Again, more Cobham boys, Acheampong and Tyree George come on, wasn't it? And what a huge moment for Liam Delap. He got a bit of stick actually after the Burnley game I saw online and the various whispers. I thought it was a little bit harsh actually in terms of the Burnley game. I think his final decision making at times wasn't brilliant, but I think he gave us enough on the day that he's a menace for defences. And I thought when he came on last night, I was like, do you know what? This is probably where Chelsea had intended for his primary use to be this season, which is basically a bit of a bully off the bench. I think if Palmer had been fit more and João Pedro could have played up front more, I think we would have seen this sort of bully option off the bench a bit more from Delap. And now, as he's getting fit, I'm sure we will. It's the last thing you want, isn't it, as a defender? You're tiring, you've got 10 men, and then he comes on and you just know he's going to be so physical, so aggressive, constantly running in behind, stretching the pitch, which he did at times really, really well. And just so pleased that he got his goal. You know, it's a shame he almost didn't get to enjoy celebrating it properly because of the flag, but luckily the decision went the right way, and I think that'll be huge for him. I mean, what a moment. Not his first Chelsea goal, of course, because he got one in the summer, but his first goal at the Bridge in a competitive game, and it comes in the Champions League against Barcelona. You couldn't really ask for much more than that, and that should give him a real boost. It was just a brilliant night, an amazing moment. I mean, the feel-good feeling around the club and around the ground was amazing, is amazing. And yeah, we are certainly not going to say we're going to win the Champions League, but I would say I think we're dark horses. I think we all probably think we're a step or two away from Premier League winners this year. Hopefully we can challenge, hopefully we can get closer. But in the Cups, as we know, we've seen it before, anything can happen. Chelsea are really good in these big games. Marseca, as I said earlier, is really good in these big games. I don't think there's many teams in the Champions League that would want to face Chelsea playing like we did last night. I think we can give anyone a game, and so I think we're quietly dark horses. What the win has also done for us is given us a massive boost in the chances of getting top 8, which will get us through to the last 16. I think it is, trying to get my numbers right, which would mean 2 less games in the new year. I think it basically means, from what I understand of what the points you're likely to need to get top 8, if Chelsea can win at Atalanta in the next game, which is the last one before Christmas, that will mean I think we'll only need to beat Paphos at home to pretty much guarantee top 8. So that Atalanta game away now becomes huge. If we can go there, get that win, Paphos at home, with David Luiz's return actually to Chelsea, should be a banker. And then you can kind of write off that Napoli game on the last day of the competition away from home, and hopefully it wouldn't matter. So that's where Chelsea put themselves down a really good chance, which I'm sure Marseca will be desperate to be able to try and do, and would be, to be honest, based on the draw that we've had, a really good achievement. But yeah, let's go and do the business first. That will not be an easy game, but we'll talk about that nearer the time. A great night, a brilliant performance from everyone out there. And yeah, a little warning for Arsenal on Sunday, which we'll talk about next, because yeah, the big games come thick and fast, and yeah, there isn't too long. I've got 48 hours off now, I think the players, Marseca said, to rest, recuperate, and then all focus comes back to playing Arsenal on Sunday. And let's talk about that one next.
Well, I've got to say, going to work today felt pretty damn good. I've walked in, and I think just about everybody to a man who watched that game last night has said how brilliant Chelsea were. I've had lots of messages from different people, I think much like you, Chris, to say how well we played. And, you know, I didn't know Chelsea were this good almost, that type of a feeling. So, yeah, it feels great to be a Chelsea fan today. I have to say, I've very much enjoyed it. I've revelled in every bit of content that I can find. I will definitely go home tonight and watch the highlights with my kids and what have you, and just literally enjoy what was a fantastic evening. I think I don't want to go too overboard with it because it is just 3 points at the end of the day. I think what we perceived as being this giant in Barcelona, which they still are, don't get me wrong, but I just think that maybe Chelsea and some of the Premier League teams are a lot stronger than people give us credit for. And like I said last week against Burnley, that change in the media towards Marseca and how they were perceiving him as no longer was he a rookie, he was suddenly this good, experienced manager, and how dare Chelsea fans have anything bad to say about him. That is such a shift in what we've heard in the last, I'd say, 6 to 12 months. It's been a real kind of interesting change in how people are speaking about us now. So, yeah, it's been brilliant. And quite frankly, I've enjoyed every single moment. We could talk about the game a little bit more, and I'm sure we will fall back to certain points in the game as we go along in these voice notes because that's the nature of the beast. But I think from my perspective about the game upcoming now in Arsenal at the weekend, I would love us to just have this type of mentality now when we're approaching the bigger sides. And it's been a long time. It's been 2021 was the last time we won at Arsenal. And that was when Romelu Lukaku made his debut and scored. So quite a long time ago. And I think I'm sort of getting to that stage now where I want us to see us have a real go at these sides. I think there has to be an element of leaving the handbrake on a tad. You can't be reckless. I felt like last night Barcelona, in a weird way, were quite reckless with the way they played. And I'm taking nothing away from Chelsea because I think they were outstanding. But, this constant playing with a high line, they had 10 men. Yes, they've got world-class players in the forward line and the midfield. But at the same time, Chelsea have 2. And at no point did they sort of go, do you know what? Chelsea are a pretty good side. I think maybe we should drop a little bit deeper, give them a little bit more space and give us a bit more time to work out what was going on. This constant high line just meant that Chelsea were on them all of the time and they couldn't relax. So I think against Arsenal, I want to see us go with that kind of wham, bam, thank you, ma'am attitude. But at the same time, don't be stupid and just, for the sake of it, just throw players forward when it's not on to do so. But I think gone are the days now where we've played against Man City a few times at the Etihad. Strangely, we don't go to Anfield and play like this. We do tend to have a bit more of a go at Liverpool for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but we do. Arsenal was a side last year when we went there and we played terribly. We didn't have a shot at goal. I think we had one, actually. It was Cucurella from about 35 yards and it p-rolled towards David Raya. I can't watch that anymore. I don't mind Chelsea losing games. I've said this before. No one wants to lose or draw a game, but equally, there's ways of winning and ways of losing. And Chelsea going to any ground pisses me off when we don't get any kind of performance. But at home, particularly against Arsenal, they are going to be quite aggressive towards us, and rightly so. They're playing good football. They're top of the league. They won't fear anybody. But I tell you what, if Chelsea come and play anything like they did against Barcelona on Sunday, they're going to have a real surprise. And I think that Chelsea will give them a really good game. Now, in a really weird twist of fate, I've been offered a ticket from a friend of mine to go to the Emirates tonight to watch Arsenal Bayern Munich. So I'm very interested to see how they play, how much energy they exert, how Bayern Munich line up against them and what sort of problems they will cause. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't normally go to other games that aren't involving Chelsea, but I felt on this occasion it was definitely worth going, and I'm very thankful for the ticket. But what I would say is, as Chelsea fans, I don't think we can be too overly confident. Arsenal are a very, very good side. I do believe that Chelsea can go anywhere and win a game of football. That's my blind stupidity. I know that. But I'm looking at Arsenal this year and thinking it's theirs to lose. It feels like that. I think Arsenal fans would hate me for saying that. They'd be like, oh, you're just putting the jinx on us. You're putting the mockers on us. I kind of am in a little way. I'm trying to anyway. But if I was a Chelsea fan and we were in their position, I would feel the same. I would want us to be, right, okay, we've got Chelsea away at the weekend. We've got to go there and try and get 3 points and push them away from us, really cement our place at the top of the table. That's what I would be saying as an Arsenal fan. I think they've had so much heartbreak in the last few years. It's hard to get excited. And the people that I've spoken to that are Arsenal fans, even though they probably deep down think they can do it, I think outwardly they're a little bit nervous to say so because they've done it before and it's bitten them in the arse. So, yeah, it's one of those things that whenever Chelsea and Arsenal play, they're usually pretty feisty affairs. They're very up and at them. There's not a lot of love lost. Okay, London derbies are always feisty, but I think that the one between Chelsea and Arsenal can always be a bit of a storm. And there's been plenty of fantastic games at the Bridge and at the Emirates in the past. But I was just looking at that Barcelona game last night from a Chelsea perspective and thinking a lot of those players actually had quite a nice evening. As Chris mentioned, Garnacho went off after about an hour. Moises Caicedo, even though he played the full 90, he was definitely not needed as much as we would have liked or have hoped in the second half, which was good for us, which meant he had a slightly easier night. I think Reece James coming off before the end, Liam Delap only playing half a game. There was a lot of good positives for Chelsea. I think the one player that did obviously exert all the energy last night was Marc Cucurella, which we've mentioned already in the podcast. But I don't care what anybody says. Winning a game like that against Barcelona at home will only give the players energy. You won't feel deflated after that. If they'd gone and got done 5-0 at home, I can tell you now they'll be thinking, oh, goodness me, Arsenal at the weekend. There'll be none of that. They'll be thinking, come on then, Arsenal, let's have you. That's what I will be thinking, and I know they will be. You cannot come down from a high like that. I tell you, Arsenal are going to be one hell of a game on Sunday, and I think that we really will give them a fantastic game. I actually expect João Pedro to come back into the team just because he's a bit physical and a big guy. It wouldn't surprise me if we go with Delap and João Pedro at the weekend, although the Pedro Neto experiment up front worked fantastic against Barcelona, but I don't see Arsenal playing such a high line, and I don't see us playing him through the middle, even though it worked really well against Barcelona. So I expect, say, a few changes. But Enzo, Marseca, I am talking to you directly. Please, for the love of God, if I see Tosin's name on the starting 11, I am going to lose my mind. We have to start Fofana and Trev Chalobah. They are the pair that are looking so strong and so solid. I appreciate Badir Shields had some decent minutes of late. I know that Achampong is a really good young player, and if we had nobody else, I'd be saying, yes, stick him in. And if Josh Achampong had played the last month, I'd probably be saying the same thing about him. I want to see some consistency in the middle. Unless one of them has picked up a knock overnight, then fair enough. And if Tosin has to play, it's because everybody else has gone down with some stomach bug that's plaguing the whole team or something. Other than that, I don't want to see his name on the team sheet. On the wings, we certainly have to play one of Garnacho, Estevão or Neto. Gittins, again, for me, failed to deliver last night. He only came on for maybe, I don't know what he got now, 15, 20 minutes, but it wasn't really much. He had a very good cross right near the end. I thought that was a decent cross, but other than that, he didn't really do much. He's not looking like the player we thought we were signing at this stage. So I want to see one of the other three wingers start. And in midfield, I think it has to be Enzo and Caicedo at the moment. They're playing really, really well. Enzo looks like he's going to score every time he goes forward. And by the way, even though he didn't score last night, he's putting these chances away. Do you know what I mean? And even if someone else is offside or even him, he's still putting the ball in the back of the net. And that's a very difficult skill to do. So again, if he finds himself in the 6-yard box or 10 yards from goal the weekend, I can see him putting one away. So yeah, I'm very excited by him. And if Moises can keep doing what he's doing, and look, I'm not interested in this whole Declan Rice versus Moises Caicedo debate. As an Arsenal fan, you love Declan Rice, right? As a Chelsea fan, we love Moises Caicedo. I couldn't really tell you who was a better player. I think I know who the better player is. But you know what? There shouldn't be a competition. They're both fantastic players in that role. And if they were playing for the same team, Jesus Christ, that would be some central midfield partnership. But look, just enjoy the player you have. And at the weekend, may the best team win. I think that this constant debate to who is a better player, Messi or Ronaldo, and all that crap, it does my head in. They're both fantastic football players. They're both playing for top teams. And come the end of the season, come the end of their career, then you can actually say something about it. But right here, right now. They're both on top form. They're both fantastic. So let's just leave it be. And let's just hope that Chelsea go out with this attitude to try and win the game. And if we can put a dent in Arsenal's title parade, then so be it. And what a nice feeling that would be. And I think at that point, not that I would still say that Chelsea are contenders to win the title, you have to put them in the conversation of they're right there and they're as good as anybody else right now. They'd be 3 points behind Arsenal, having kept a series of clean sheets in the last 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it is. And I don't see anybody else doing that. And we are scoring plenty of goals to boot. So, yeah, this team at the moment is looking good. It's feeling good. And even though we're not sitting here saying we're going to win the league title, it'll just be nice to see a few Arsenal fans lose their minds at the weekend because, trust me, if we beat them, they definitely will.
That record against Arsenal really is horrific, isn't it, when you look at it? We had years when we really dominated them. And yeah, it's been so long since we beat them. And really, over that course of the time, we've had some pretty painful defeats along the way as well. Even in those times at the Bridge where we've been, the better sides on paper, certainly, and better side in the league, we've still not beaten them at home since 2018. When it was Morata's first season, where he was like the great hope. I think it was Kovacic's debut off the bench the last time we beat them, which is at the Bridge, which is ridiculous. I think it's a big moment for us, isn't it, in the league season? I think there will be a lot of eyes on us now after that was a bit of a statement win against Barca. And I think it has got, obviously, everyone looking at us in a slightly different way. I wanted to talk about the comments from Gary Neville, actually. So Gary Neville does his little thing on Sky Sports, the Gary Neville podcast, which he did after the Arsenal Spurs game last week. And I'll play in what he said and then give you my thoughts on it. So here's our man, Gary.
I don't think they're anywhere near a team that can win the league yet, being honest with you. I think when I look at them, they look well short in a number of areas. But they're good. They're a good team. They're a good team. They're not a great side. I don't think they've got great players. But they're a good team and they're a good squad, and it should be, obviously, with the investment that's been made. And I think they'll finish in the top 4, top 5. I think that's where they'll be, and I think they'll do okay. And they'll tease us at moments where we'll think, oh, are they getting close? And are Chelsea the nearest challengers? But I don't think that'll emerge as the season goes on.
So am I the only one who feels like that is incredibly harsh? I mean, in terms of where Chelsea will finish this season, he might ultimately be right. I think probably most of us think we'll be somewhere around 2nd, 3rd or 4th, around that, which is kind of, he's hedging a little bit, isn't he? With that, it's basically saying Champions League, but not the title. So you're anyone in there. But the idea of saying that Chelsea are miles off winning the league and that we have, I think in the words, no great players, good players, not great players, I think it's mad, isn't it? It's absolute madness. Chelsea have, I would say, a squad that is 2 or 3 players off now being, in my opinion, a real title contending team. A title winning team. Let's not sit on the fence. A title winning team. I think we're probably a year or so away and a couple of players away. And we all know what those players are. We've talked about it so much in the pod. It's probably still a goalkeeper, isn't it? Probably. It's probably a centre-back, a bit more leadership at the back. And I guess time will tell in terms of whether it's a centre-forward as well. I'm hopeful it isn't. I think we'll probably score enough goals, and the way that we share goals around is another way to win the league. But you go through the team now and you go, on our day, we've probably got the best right back and left back in the league, in my opinion, in Reece James and Mark Cucurella. Certainly in Moise Caicedo, you've got the best defensive midfielder in the league, if not one of the best midfielders in the league. We've seen the growth of Enzo. We all know what Cole Palmer can do. I think the wingers are across certainly Pedro Neto and Estevão, we know where they're going and the trajectory. So, yeah, I feel like, maybe this is where the media are still with Chelsea, and we're still, I guess, when you lose games at home to Sunderland and Brighton, you're gonna continue to carry that badge with you for a while. But yeah, I really hope that we turn up on Sunday and can kind of silence a few of those in the media who still aren't catching up quite to kind of what is really being built and how good we can be on our day. One of the things that I found really interesting looking at the game on Sunday is that Anthony Taylor will be the referee, and the usual stuff goes around. And my reaction, I'm sure, was like most people, is that, oh God, Taylor. And obviously, when we think of Anthony Taylor, we do think of, most people remember him from the cup finals against Arsenal, where twice in the FA Cup, once in 2017 and once in 2020, we were on the back of some really bad decisions that cost us in both games. But, and obviously because of that, we have all this memory of like, oh, Taylor's a nightmare for Chelsea. He hates Chelsea. He's like, yeah, every time we get him, it's a disaster. Our recent record with him is insane. So I had a quick look. Incredibly, you can get all of the stats per referee for your club on Transfermarkt website. And I just had a quick look because I was like, in my head, I'd heard that it was better recently. So I wanted to check it. In the last 20 games that Anthony Taylor has refereed Chelsea, which goes back to the 2020-21 season. So this run starts in February 2021. Out of the 20 games, Chelsea has lost once, just once, which was the opening game of last season, actually, against Man City when we lost 2-0. But actually, since then, he has refereed 5 games and we have won all of the last 5. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, if and when we don't get the right result and referee decisions go against us on Sunday, I will be here telling you that Taylor is terrible. But actually, yeah, maybe he's a good luck charm, if anything, not a bad one. And actually, the last game he did referee for us was that big win at home against Liverpool this season. Yeah, not a bad one. If you're hearing about Anthony Taylor and you're saying the stuff about that, it may not be as bad as you think. What do we think on the team? I think, unless Gusto is injured, he obviously came off at half-time, then I would anticipate you see the classic Gusto and Reece James both in the lineup thing, which we always see in the big games. I'd anticipate that. I'd anticipate maybe a change at centre-back. I just wonder if they'll look at Fofana and think, can he go another 90 minutes having played that 90? I don't know. They also, I think, will look at how dangerous Arsenal are on set pieces. It's probably my biggest fear about the game, actually, is what they can do to us in those situations. And I wonder if, when you look at the lineup, just have a look at the sort of height of players that we put out. So I would anticipate that there's a good chance Badiashile might play. There is a chance Tosin might play, which I know Joe will not like. But I just wonder if they'll look at things like that and think, okay, who's our most aerial dominant players? I think one of João Pedro or Liam Delap will start. There is a chance they might both start. But I think because of probably putting Enzo in at number 10 again, you probably only have one of them on the pitch. But I think that is likely because, yeah, they're a team of beasts, aren't they, in terms of aerial ability, Arsenal. So that'll be a factor that I think plays into the selection. It'll also be interesting to see whether Chelsea do look to counter some of the challenge we'll have aerially with what we did against Spurs at Tottenham, which was when they had long throws in particular, we were quickly putting 3 players up, weren't we? So that Spurs had to drop players back. It also made the penalty box a little bit less chaotic, which meant that kind of Sanchez was really demanded to come and claim balls and stuff like that. But I think it will be a big area of focus for Chelsea. I mean, we were terrible in that game that Joe mentioned earlier at the Emirates last season, but it was only 1-0, and the goal, of course, did come from a corner. So those are the small details that often are the difference in these sort of big games. Like Joe, I just really hope that we turn up again and can kind of build on the momentum of yesterday. I think it's another big game for us. It would be great to, it would be really good. I mean, let's not even get too far ahead of us and says if we win where it puts us in the league and stuff like that. But I know even a draw, at this point in time, my dad used to have a phrase about certain games that you'd buy a draw now. And I think I'm probably in that camp in terms of, I think it would put us in a decent situation. I just think not dent the momentum we have. But I know there'll be a lot out there listening and think, no, come on, let's go and beat them. Let's go and beat Arsenal. Lay down a statement, if you will. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of response, sort of reaction from the crowd Noni Madueke gets. Kai Havertz didn't get a warm reception on his return. My gut feeling is I don't think Noni's will be great either. Not that he wasn't liked at Chelsea or the way he left was particularly bad, but I think if you go to Arsenal, you do leave yourself open to criticism. I don't think he was loved universally at Chelsea. And he's 007, isn't he, in terms of 7 games played, no goals and no assists. And they will be desperate to, even if he doesn't start, to come off the bench against Chelsea and do something. Oh, I really hope he doesn't get a goal or anything, because we'll never hit the end of that for a little while, will we? But let's not worry about that. Let's worry about Chelsea. He was replaced in the squad this year by the likes of Estevão and by the likes of Garnacho, who are absolutely flying. So we don't need to look back at all. And I'm pretty sure that both of those guys will have a big part to play on Sunday. And we will be back to respond on all of it next week. And as we've been saying, but it never feels more true, we said every little thing's going to be all right. And it definitely is right now. Up the Chelsea. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be all right.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.